This is Top 30. 30 stories in 30 minutes. Selling iPhones is lucrative business, but so is stealing and unlocking them. New research from the cybersecurity firm Trend Micro sheds light on a global black market for stolen phones that is more sophisticated than many people think. Once a phone is lost or stolen, many use apps like Find My iPhone to lock it down. But the criminals are relying on you doing exactly that. They will send fake emails or texts designed to look like they are from Apple. Users desperate to recover their phones then enter their iCloud credentials. That information can then be used by criminals to unlock the device, wipe your data, and resell the phone. The biggest iPhone X is currently just over $1,100 at full retail, but according to the study, stolen ones are selling in Eastern European countries for over $2,000. The security firm recommends securing iCloud accounts with two-factor authentication, using all of the phone's security features, and being suspicious of unsolicited emails asking for your information. Some criminals are more clever than you think they are.
Americans are spending more time now than ever listening to music, thanks in large part to streaming apps like Spotify, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. The way we listen to music has been revolutionized. An almost endless supply of music is available right at your fingertips. By mid-2017, songs played on streaming apps were already up 62% from the year before. According to Nielsen Music, on average, Americans are spending just over 32 hours a week listening to music. That's up from 26.6 last year and 23.5 hours in 2015. If that number seems high, that's because it is. 32 hours a week works out to more than 4.5 hours a day, and who's got time for that?
For the first time ever, the richest 1% of the world's population owns more than half of the world's wealth. Financial services company Credit Suisse released its global wealth report, revealing there are 36 million millionaires in the world right now, and that's expected to grow to 44 million over the next 5 years. The overall wealth of the world is up to $280 trillion. The 6% increase is the highest annual increase since 2012, and more than half of that, $16.7 trillion in new wealth, was in the United States of America. The report's big takeaway is that the rich are getting richer, and millennials may have a particularly hard time acquiring wealth. The fear of many experts now is that if economic disparity keeps growing like this, it could lead to instability and unrest.
According to a 2017 report by the A.J. Drexel Autism Institute, just 14% of adults with autism spectrum disorder in the U.S. were employed in a paying job in their community. But one employer is on a mission to change this. Psychotherapist Lauren Tomey told Eater, "I realize that there are a ton of adults with autism that are capable, but who are having a hard time getting face-to-face interviews." And so in 2013, Tomey and therapist Emily Wallace opened Dirt Coffee Bar in Littleton, Colorado. Tomey describes their coffee truck as being neurodiverse, meaning half the staff includes people with autism and related developmental or intellectual disabilities. Dirt is a nonprofit where coffee is sold on a suggested donation basis. Tomey believes people often become loyal customers once they learn about their mission to employ and empower. Coffee with a cause, now that's something I can get behind. A new study says there may be a way to prevent nearsightedness in your children. Being nearsighted means you can see things up close, but anything further away will be more blurry. If a child has two nearsighted parents, the chance that they will also need glasses is 60%. However, according to a study by the National Eye Institute, if a child spends at least 14 hours a week outdoors, then there will only be a 20% chance they will need glasses. The thinking behind this is that the sunshine helps release dopamine in the retina. That dopamine then helps the child have normal eye growth. And according to the BBC, opticians say smartphone overuse may damage your eyes. In a world more and more filled with tablets, computers, and video games, it's important to make sure they get outside and play. You may just be saving them from a lifetime of wearing glasses.
Here is your top 30 health roundup. A study from Wake Forest University found adding weight to your exercise regimen prevents muscle loss as you age. Researchers followed 249 sedentary, obese adults for 18 months. They were split into 3 groups. The first cut calories but did not exercise. The second cut calories but also started an aerobic walking program. And the third cut calories and started a full-body resistance training routine with weights. They found the group that worked out with weights lost a larger percentage of fat than either group, suggesting that as you age, you should add weights to your workout to prevent muscle loss. Next, a study published in the journal Science Advances found a community of Amish people living in Indiana have a genetic mutation that prevents them from getting type 2 diabetes and extends their lifespan. Lead researcher Dr. Douglas Vaughan said diabetes is something that develops more as we age. This is a terrific indicator that the mutation actually protected them from a metabolic consequence of aging. Researchers said the discovery of this mutation can help fuel further research on the processes underlying cellular aging and new therapies for chronic diseases. And last, a study presented at the American Heart Association conference found each additional cup of coffee a person drinks per day, up to 6 cups, reduces the risk of heart disease. Another study presented at the conference found plant-based diets are the best for heart health compared to alternatives. So if you're a coffee addict, you now have scientific evidence proving it is good for you. And if you eat a lot of vegetables, the chances are you are already pretty healthy. A new study published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology says you might want to have a drink before trying to impress anyone with your foreign language skills. According to Town & Country magazine, a study conducted by British and Dutch scientists tested 50 native German speakers who'd recently learned Dutch well enough to pass a proficiency exam. The scientists split the group in half, giving one half a low dose of booze and the other a non-alcoholic beverage. Then each participant had an exchange with a native Dutch speaker that was recorded and rated by 2 other Dutch natives, as well as the participants. And it turns out the people who drank a little alcohol came across as more fluent in Dutch than the sober speakers. Specifically, the drinkers' pronunciation was better than when compared to their sober counterparts. Researchers said this is likely because alcohol can reduce language anxiety, which is toned down because of the low doses of alcohol. Coincidentally, on high doses of alcohol, we also sound like we're speaking Dutch.
A ship from World War II has been transformed into an artificial coral reef, and it's magnificent. One of just 5 ships that survived Pearl Harbor, a team of artists salvaged the Kodiak Queen and transformed it into a symbol of life and rebirth. They cleaned up the vessel and decorated it with an 80-foot sculpture of a Kraken, the mythical monster portrayed in Pirates of the Caribbean. The ship was then transported to the Virgin Gorda Seas around the British Virgin Islands and sunk to the bottom, where it has now become a thriving ocean ecosystem. What a cool way to memorialize a big piece of history. Athleisure is one of the most comfortable fashion trends out there, allowing your stretchy workout gear to be socially acceptable at events outside the gym. But one fashion line is taking that comfort to an even lazier level, claiming their clothing can withstand a month of wear without washing. According to Bustle, Blee Apparel uses a fabric called Fluent that repels odor, stains, and liquids. Instead of absorbing sweat and odor, the brand claims it evaporates, leaving the item free of stinky smells. The innovative material is breathable and eco-friendly. Available in a variety of styles, the pieces are not only perfect for working out, but travel as well, since washer and dryers aren't as readily available on the road. While this brand is certainly addressing a major problem, one whiff of your gym bag is evidence enough. Convincing the public an item can go a month without washing might be a hard sell.
There is a Japanese hotel run almost entirely by robots, and it's been so successful there are plans to open 100 more. Aptly named Weird Hotel, it sits on the Huis ten Bosch amusement park in Sasebo, and guests are greeted by either a humanoid robot or an English-speaking dinosaur. Hideo Sawada currently runs the hotel and said having robots in charge of the reception and placing robots everywhere, we aim to make it the most efficient hotel in the world. According to Sawada, using robots allows the hotel to save money, thus making it more affordable for guests. He hopes the additional 100 hotels will be at least 90% robot run. I don't really want to interact with anyone when I stay at hotels, so this sounds excellent. The aviation industry is preparing for a future of self-flying planes, but will we want to actually fly in them? Airbus is developing an air taxi that can take off land and take passengers on short trips around cities, all without a crew. The project is called Vahana. Boeing has hinted that autonomous flight is on the way. The company's vice president of product development has said the basic building blocks of the technology clearly are available. Airlines have a financial incentive to push for self-flying planes. One report says the move would save the industry as much as $35 billion every year. But passengers might not be so eager. One survey says that just 1 out of 6 passengers would feel comfortable in a fully automated plane. Experts say self-flying planes could make flying safer by reducing the chances of an accident due to a pilot's mistakes. If passengers can be convinced the technology may be here sooner than we thought.
In today's Hometown Stories from Fox 4 Dallas, there are more than 3,000 homeless people living in the city of Dallas on any given night. But the Housing Crisis Center hopes to equip the homeless with life skills to break that cycle. The holistic year-long program provides them with more than just a home. It also teaches them financial literacy and offers job support. One success story is Brianna Schweigert, who said she and her daughter became homeless after fleeing domestic violence. But thanks to the Housing Crisis Center, she now has a home and a job as a teacher's aide. In our second story from Fox 29 Philadelphia, Patty Lewis started the nonprofit America for Our Veterans. She sent support packages to all the Marines in her son's battalion, but she ran into some struggles of her own. Patty's on permanent disability, her son suffers from PTSD, and her husband has esophageal cancer. But her community rallied around her in her time of need. A local collision shop completely rehabbed a car and gave it to her free of charge. In our final story from Fox 13 Tampa Bay, Hands Across the Bay is a grassroots charity that helps people get back on their feet after enduring hardships. The organization was started by Julie Weintraub. At age 13, she found herself in a difficult situation when her parents got divorced. She and her mom moved from New England to Florida with little money, and she remembers relying on the kindness of others to get through those tough times. Well, now she wants to pay it forward. Hands Across the Bay was started in 2010 and has helped thousands of people.
American students are getting some help from one of the world's richest men. Bill and Melinda Gates, their foundation, will invest $1.7 billion in public schools. The nonprofit has been working to improve American education since about 2000. Gates says one of the biggest issues facing students is inequality. He wants to help low-income students and students of color. About 60% of the investment will go toward developing new curricula and building networks of existing schools. 15% will support charter schools, and the remaining 25% will go towards what Gates calls big bets. Gates has called the rate of college dropouts in the US tragic and says without more graduates, our country will face a shortage of skilled workers and fewer low-income families will get the opportunity to lift themselves out of poverty. The whole thing is somewhat ironic considering that Bill Gates is a college dropout himself.
The trick to being interesting? Be interested in others. Johnny Zubak, host of the popular Art of Charm podcast, gave Business Insider his tips to being seen as a conversational superstar. First, know when to stop talking and start listening. Don't ask a question just so you can then tell your story. As Zubak says, the easiest way to give someone value is to allow them to feel heard. When we feel like we're being heard, we feel good. And listening helps you achieve the next step, which is paying attention to social and emotional cues. These cues will help you relate and connect to the person you're talking to, which leads to the overall lesson. Instead of constantly talking, engage and enjoy the experience.
As air quality continues to get worse, especially in urban areas, architects are constructing office buildings that function a lot like spaceships. In cities with particularly bad air quality, sealed windows are now the norm, but that can have its own consequences. Carbon dioxide levels can build up throughout the day, reaching between 1,000 and 3,000 parts per million. And a recent study from Harvard, Syracuse, and SUNY Upstate Medical University found cognitive performance declined by as much as 15% in rooms where carbon dioxide levels were high. So some offices are using HVAC systems that dynamically respond to carbon dioxide levels in the air. That is the same air circulation technology used in spaceships. So now you don't need to go all the way to space to know what a spaceship is like. You just need to go to the office. A new study out of Aston University Medical School says that divorce doesn't just break your life, it literally breaks your heart because it increases the risk of dying from cardiac issues. Research from nearly 1 million people over 13 years says that married people who suffer from a heart attack have a better survival rate than those who are divorced. Single people who were never married also had a better survival rate than divorcees. Dr. Raoul Potluri said, single people do worse than married people and divorcees do worst of all. With death rates 16% higher than married people and 7% above that of bachelors, divorced people suffered the most fatalities after a heart attack. Specialists say that the numbers are likely because having a partner encourages people to take care of themselves and make better choices regarding health. If you listen carefully to that advice, you might be tempted to stay in a terrible relationship to avoid a heart attack. Sounds great.
Spare tires on new cars are going the way of the cassette deck, and it could cost you money. According to AAA, 28% of 2017 model year vehicles don't come with a spare. For the 2006 model year, that number was just 5%. The trend is a win for car makers. They're under pressure to meet higher fuel economy standards, which often means losing weight. Skipping the spare saves about 40 pounds. It also saves them money. But those savings aren't necessarily passed on. Just last year, the Auto Club got calls from about 450,000 drivers who had flat tires and no spares. In many cases, they needed a tow to a garage, which isn't cheap. Many new cars are sold with aerosol kits to seal a leak, but experts say they have drawbacks. They can't fix larger tears, are only good for one use, and they expire in 4 to 8 years. A new one is around $40. Some car makers now charge extra for what used to be free. Spares for some new BMW 5 and 7 Series sedans start at $150. But some drivers will need to call the tow truck no matter what. AAA says about 20% of Americans don't know how to change a flat. There's a whole economy devoted to the market of miniature items. TV shows like Tiny House Nation and Tiny House Hunters help viewers envision life inside of houses that are under 600 square feet. And there are countless stores on Etsy where people can buy miniature bottles of Windex, MacBooks, Starbucks cups, pretty much anything. Even stars like Katy Perry have dove into the scene of edible tiny food. The lyric video for her song Chained to the Rhythm featured a tiny kitchen with a comparably giant hand cooking a tiny cheeseburger and tiny pasta that were eventually fed to a hamster. Perry was paying homage to the viral video posted by digital marketing firm Denizen, which featured a hamster eating tiny burritos. It's been viewed over 12 million times. Most of the miniature ceramics are formed out of polymer clay. The tiny food requires teeny utensils and cooking supplies to create. And while these items may be satisfying to look at, I think most people would prefer a full-size cheeseburger.
Artificial light pollution is on the rise worldwide, with the largest jump found in countries and regions that were previously unlit. In a new study, scientists revealed the area of the Earth's surface artificially lit increased by 2.2% every year from 2012 to 2016. The study said, quote, artificial light is an environmental pollutant that threatens nocturnal animals and affects plants and microorganisms. In addition, the International Dark Sky Association says the increased use of artificial light at night is adversely affecting our environment, as well as our health, safety, and energy consumption. To reduce light pollution, the study's lead author recommends avoiding glaring lamps by choosing amber over white LEDs and says we need to find more efficient ways to light up parking lots and city streets. Sales for expensive adult men's backpacks are up, and many of the new customers are high-end businessmen making the switch from traditional briefcases. An analyst for a fashion trend company told the Wall Street Journal men's backpacks have gotten more exclusive and they now represent almost half of the country's backpack market. One expert says some of the factors influencing the change is a more casual attitude towards business attire, and backpacks can easily carry non-work related items that busy men need, like tennis rackets or gym clothes. Top-of-the-line backpacks can cost more than $1,000 and feature light, waterproof material with memory foam straps. None of this changes the fact that businessmen wearing backpacks to work look ridiculous. Thank you for watching. You can catch up with past episodes of Top 30 now on Hulu. You can also download the Top 30 mobile app and visit our website. We want to hear from you, so connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe to @Top30TV for interviews and exclusive web content. We will see you next time on Top 30.